surrounded in a room full of women, who I think have chosen to lead, to build, and to pave way for the others. Now, I've been into cricket. I've spent half of my life, close to 30 years, playing a professional sport. And I do realize and I've seen the similarities between a women athlete's journey or an athlete's journey, and between women's athletes' journey and a women entrepreneur's journey in our country. When a woman gets into a very high competitive field, big dreams are just not enough. You need more, right? It requires a great deal of discipline, hard work, and I believe courage, especially for women in our country. The strength to continue forward, knowing that the road ahead is very uncertain, and that's why you require a lot of courage. When I started playing cricket way back in the year 1992, women's sport in our country looked very different, totally different to what it looks now. We barely had the infrastructure, resources, almost no media coverage, though now the media coverage is a lot for all the women athletes in our country. And we didn't have a set path. To simplify that, we didn't have women role models. And I personally have looked up to men cricketers when I started playing cricket. So we had to create our own pathway. We had to create our own way forward. And I think that experience had taught me that success is not built overnight. Success is built by turning up each and every day for training, for your preparation. There are days when your body says, just give me a couple of more hours of sleep. You still get out of bed. There are days when you're going through your cycle, there are hormonal changes. You just don't want to get out of home. You still have to go out to train. There are times when your personal life is in turmoil. You still chose to go out and do, what is required for your profession. I think that's where resilience are built. And a lot of people ask why athletes have that resilience that normal people don't show. It's because we turn up every time, irrespective of the situation that we are in, we turn up for training. And that's what makes us more stronger mentally. I think that is something I'm sure all the women out here in the room have a very similar competitive mindset when you get into this field, which is quite uncertain. But I also believe that when you take up a field something like this, you need to have a lot of belief, a lot of self-belief, because that is something, you're showing your commitment towards your goal, towards your dream. If you don't show it, then who's going to show it? So first it has to come from you. So when I started playing cricket, there was absolutely no, as I said, no infrastructure, no resources, but there was no money in it. It was purely the joy of the sport that I played. And of course, my father wanted me to represent India, so I had my father's dream that I carried along. And all those people who worked to make me a cricketer. So when there is absolutely nothing in written, and still to pursue that field, it requires commitment, and it requires a lot more sacrifice, just not from me, but also from the team that made me into a cricketer. And I believe as a woman also, we do require that support system. I did have the support system, but my challenges were very different. On the field, of course, as an athlete, we do have very similar challenges of injuries, the opportunities. We had to create opportunities because for the longest time, women's cricket was in obscurity. So not many people know, despite playing for India, that, we put in equal number of hours, trained just as the men did, but never did really get acknowledged for that. But that never deterred us from not pursuing our goals or ambitions, because perhaps we had a bigger role to play, that like you all, like women who get into entrepreneurs, into businesses, you might not have a structured ecosystem in place to support you all, but do not give up, because you're, in a way, if you're successful, even if you perhaps reach your goal or ambitions or dreams, you're in a way putting a system in place for the future generation, for women after you to come, to make life a little more easier for them. That was our dream. We never had an ecosystem in place in the 90s, but then all of us who've played in that era were continued to play, because our not only we wanted to represent India, but we also wanted to see the sport grow. We wanted to see the sport in a better place. And today, all of us feel very happy to see women's cricket being accepted by people. And globally also, there's so much of fan base that has increased for women in sport. And I think that when I strongly believe, even in our country, when I do a lot of these talks, I see women in businesses, in corporates. As you climb ladder, the representation of women tends to sort of deteriorate. But it could be for various reasons, and I strongly believe women do have the talent, the desire, the skill. Often we perhaps lack in, like as ma'am said, the mentorship, resources, support system, or market opportunities. And I think that's where DP World and Niti Aayog, with the initiatives like We Rise and WEP, I think they are able to give that platform, bridge that gap, see that women are able to scale into their businesses, are able to compete on a much bigger stage. So I just want to conclude my speech with this, that do not give up. Yes, it can be a hard road, but something or anything which is worth, it requires your commitment. And trust and believe that the foundation that you're laying is strong. Support one another in this field, and keep moving forward with a lot of confidence. For those top 10 women who we are going to celebrate today, I want to hugely congratulate you on that. Your success is just not about your achievement. As I said, you're also opening doors for the next generation of women to get into this field. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day and all the very best. Thank you.